please guide us on like how to overcome rejections or failures at a young age, because when that happens to youngsters, they try to do things which are not good for them. It can include a lot of things like suicide. They get into depression, anxiety, and stress. Like, what is the like what they should do in that case, because they are being rejected and fail again and again?
See, what is it that you love playing? Any sports you're interested in?
I love cricket.
You love cricket. Tell me of something that you are just not interested
I'm not interested in basketball.
in basketball. And somebody just pushes you hard to become the top basketball player in the country. And you prepare and train for 6 months just because you have been pushed to do all that, right? And then you go for the trials and selections and you're rejected there. Now, should you be depressed or should you celebrate?
Sir, in that case, I'll just try again.
You will try again for
Or do
something you have no heart in?
I will try something that my heart goes into in the first place.
Right. So, how do you deal with that rejection? You went to basketball trials. And you went to basketball trials just because, let's say, your family told you that it is a tradition in our family. We all have been basketball players. That's your grandpa. Look at the huge thing in his hand. That's supposed to be basketball. Then that's your granny. She too was a basketball player, the top one in her village. So it's a tradition, you have to do it. So you go for it and you try for 6 months and then you get rejected. Apply your wits. Is it a matter of mourning or celebration? That's how you deal with rejections. You anyway never wanted those things. So many people write the UPSC. The fact is, they actually never wanted to clear it in the first place. When I was writing one of these exams, I do not remember which one. One of the All India exams. Probably UPSC Civil Services. I think my father, he said, right, the number of candidates that are appearing appears to be in several lakhs. But it's not against several lakhs you are competing. The number of seats that particular year had been drastically reduced, 200 or 300 seats, that's all. The number of applicants was what, some 5, 8, 10 lakhs something. So, but then you are not competing with those many. For these 200 seats, you are competing with at most 2 to 4,000 students, applicants. Because the others are anyway appearing for namesake. They have filled up the form because their fathers wanted them to. Or because they had nothing else, nothing better to do in life. And everybody was all the time poking them. What are you doing? What are you busy with? So they filled up the form and now they can respectfully say, I'm a UPSC aspirant. If these people get rejected, why must they be depressed? You anyway never wanted it. Are you getting it? It appears uh, amusingly stupid to not to want something and then get depressed upon not getting it. Think of the situation. There is something that you never heartfully wanted. Had you heartfully wanted it, there is a great probability you would have obtained it. The fact is, you were pushed into it, or you just drifted into it. Knowing nothing else to do, you just drifted into it. Some unconscious type of desire pushed you towards a particular target or object. Your heart was never into it. Your consciousness, your discretion was never into it. And that's the primary reason you don't get it. Obviously, there can be other reasons also. But the primary reason, generally, is that you never put your whole energy, your entire self into it. Because that was not something that you loved from your core. The kind of energy that is needed to uplift life can arise only from a loving core. In some sense, it is only love that can never be defeated, or is very, very hard to defeat. That which you call as normal desire is so easy to defeat. You're desirous of one thing. The salesman displays something more attractive to you. What do? Your desire immediately flips, or does it not? Does it not? The same thing does not apply to love. Because love involves consciousness. You have chosen something after due discretion. You are going for something because you know that the thing is indispensable. It's not just random whim, fad, fetish. It's a thing of the heart. I know myself. I know what I need. And I have to go after it. Now, who can stop me? Mostly, your rejections are worth celebrating. Those were needless burdens, responsibilities put upon you by authoritarian and deceptive forces. Saint poet Kabir Das, there's a beautiful one from him. भला हुआ मेरी मटकी फूटी, अब मैं पनिया भरन से छूटी. He's not getting depressed, he's celebrating. And if somebody else had put this pot on my head and entrusted me with the responsibility to daily fetch water from some far away well or tank or something, and my success was to be measured against my quickness in fetching the water and the fullness of the pot, that was supposed to be a determinant of how successful my life is, right? If I can quickly rush and fetch a lot of water and make multiple trips to that well, get a lot of water and do that quite rapidly, then I would be declared Successful. But even if the world declares me successful because of all this pot business, does that fulfill my core? Does it? Does it? So one day that pot falls and breaks. And the poet sings, Bhala hua, muri matki phuti. Great that I have now been defeated. Ab main paniya bharan se chhuti. This was an external imposition. This is not something I was doing out of love. An artificial duty had been imposed on me. You have to be successful this way. Great that now I have met defeat. Kindly relieve me, declare me a failure, tattoo it on my forehead, and let me go. I'm okay. Call me a defeat, call me a failure, call me a reject, call me whatever you want to, but spare me. Let me live freely. On the other hand, if your target is arising from your core, then it is the love for the target that keeps you going all your life. There can be no rejection because there is always a continuous attempt. So how can you be depressed? You want something so wholeheartedly that you will never stop trying for it. Now tell me, where is the rejection? Tell me, where is the final failure? And that's probably the only way to live, especially as a young person, no? To be in love. To do something only because it deserves to be done. And it's so lovely, so compelling, so beautiful that it becomes irresistible. You cannot not do it. You cannot not love it. Now tell me, where is failure? So the problem does not lie in defeat or failure or rejection. The problem lies in the choice of the goal. Are you getting it? The question has to be, where are your goals coming from? How did something become your goal? How have you started wanting something? How exactly does that happen? And the quality of your choice depends on the quality of your being, the quality of the chooser within. If you are inwardly asleep, then all your choices will arise from very nebulous, very vague kind of criteria. They would not be choices in the real sense of the word. They would be like the toss of a dice. A 3 could show up, 1 could show up, 6 could show up. Have you chosen? It's a blind toss. Anything can show up. You have not chosen something. Randomly stuff is happening with you. And in biological life, there is only randomness. Just randomness. In conscious life, there is conscious choice arising from a single criteria, and that criteria is freedom. Randomness has no criteria. If there is some criteria, it can no more be called randomness. In internal life, there has to be a single criteria against which you determine your choices. What is that criteria? Freedom, betterment, liberation, growth. Is this making me better? Is this widening, deepening my consciousness? Am I learning something from this? Am I becoming more fearless out of this? That's what should determine the choice. And when your choices come from there, then you can take defeats in your stride. Then you say, fine, it's a lifelong journey. It's something I have to continuously do. It's such a humongous project, it can never get over. Will you ever say that your love for something has exhausted? You don't want to say that, right? So the project has to be an eternal one. Now, what is rejection? What is failure? And it's such an interesting thing, you see. When you make small targets, then you face failures. And when you make huge targets, then there can be no failure. When you make unconscious targets, then there can be failure. But when you make conscious targets in love, then there can be no failure. So all failure thing is actually symptomatic of inner sleep. Is this too fast or too abstract or just too much? Huh? How did you people land here? You have read me, you have heard me.
I've seen a lot of your videos on YouTube and Instagram.
Okay. And the others? Shorts? They are no good. Shorts are meant to bring you to the longs.
Exactly.
Cave to the longs.
Yes, sir. Right now we are in the longs.
With the longs?
Experiencing.
See, I'm not here to make a statement to the walls. It's the human being I am interested in. Not ideology, not theory, not empty lecturing. Right? I relate to human beings. So here I am speaking to you. All this is for you. Getting? The purpose of this is not the enunciation of some kind of philosophy. The purpose is that you have come here, invested your time, energy. You should be better off when this whole thing closes. All right, yes.